Chicago is one of the most strong-willed and independent cities in the U.S. because of its strong.
Throughout history, women have not been treated equally in many aspects of life, such as education, suffrage, and work. During the 19th century, women began to rise up and take a stand for their equal rights. One woman who fought for the education of young girls was Frances Willard. Frances Willard set the stage for education reform for girls in many states, especially in the Midwest.
Frances Willard was born October 31st, 1797, in Wallingford, Connecticut. She was the youngest daughter of John and Huldah Willard. Willard was raised under a religious household, with her father being a congregational minister. This implanted in her a strong religious sense she shared with others. Since she couldn't become a minister or missionary because of her gender, Frances became a teacher.
Although little is known about Frances Willard's education, in 1829 she studied under Reverend Samuel Hall in Concord, Vermont about educational methods. After teaching girls for about a year at Columbia and Lancaster, New Hampshire, and Lunenburg, Vermont between 1818 and 1831, she moved to Illinois. By 1835, she was teaching 3 girls at Monticello.
Finally, she opened a female school in Chicago on May 9, 1836. Frances Willard's school had a slow start but gradually improved over the years. Willard struggled heavily with finances and suffered from personal debt because usually school money was owed to her. The school had 17 students to begin. Their ages ranged from 5 to over 20. The school was so popular that in a month there were 30 students. Willard taught advanced math, reading, history, and science to her pupils. She also integrated daily Bible instruction and prayer. On October 30th, 1836, her daughters, as Willard liked to call them, increased to 57 and kept on increasing until May 1838 when Willard left the school.
Frances Willard later went on to open many more schools in other parts of America and taught at least 1,200 girls, exploring new places and meeting new people. Her education reforms inspired the opening of many more schools for girls around the country and gave the girls she taught opportunities to become teachers themselves. Willard loved to teach and exchanged her knowledge to the girls she encountered. Her legacy of being a great teacher to all girls began a chain reaction of many other great teachers today. The knowledge that she had exchanged with others prepared them to become the future of Chicago and America.
Women for many years struggled to obtain the right to vote. During the 19th and early 20th century, women continuously fought for suffrage until it was awarded to them June 4th, 1919. Some of the women who led the war for voting rights were Catherine McCulloch and Harriet Vittum.
Catherine Gauger Wall McCulloch was born June 4th, 1862, in Ransomville, New York, to Abraham Miller and Susan Waugh. Catherine shared a passion for equal rights for women at a young age and was teased by her male counterparts for her beliefs. And she vowed at that age to stay celibate all her life. Catherine completed many years of schooling to become a lawyer, graduating from Female Seminary in 1882, attending Union College of Law in Chicago in 1885, and being admitted into the Illinois bar in 1886.
In 1887, after being turned down and sexually harassed by men to join their law firm, McCulloch opened her own practice. There she fought for poor females and mothers who had been wronged by the government. Catherine also joined many female equality clubs and associations and made it her top priority. After being celibate for years, Catherine finally married her college sweetheart Frank McCulloch on May 30th, 1890. Together, they both did all they could to get women the right to vote. After
her marriage, Catherine McCulloch continued her advocacy in Chicago along with close friend Jane Addams, making speeches all around the city about the importance of women's suffrage. With a growing family of 5, McCulloch began to want to stay home. But she knew her job was not done in the world. She helped the National American Women's Suffrage Association and became the legal advisor to the Women's Christian Temperance Union. In 1907, Catherine was elected Justice of the Peace in Evanston, Illinois, making her one of the first women to hold a judicial position.
Even after the ratification of the 19th Amendment, Catherine continued to chair the League of Women Voters Committee. This exhibits her zeal for justice. She explored new ways for women to get the rights they deserved, and also exchanged her opinion with people against her campaign and people who supported her campaign. Catherine McCulloch stuck by her beliefs through thick and thin, and continuously fought for what was right. Her brave legacy lives on today, as she is remembered for her nonstop search for equality that is still fought for today.
Harriet Elizabeth Vidum, also known as Hattie, was born February 14, 1872, in Canton, Illinois. In 1890, Miss Vidum graduated valedictorian of Canton Public High School. Also, during the 1890s, Harriet Vidum trained to become a nurse, but in 1893, she began to work at the Illinois building of the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Later, in 1899, as a nurse, she worked at the Altrusic Hospital, where she assisted in many medical emergencies. She exhibited a strong love for helping others as she continued in her medical endeavors.
In 1904, Vidum volunteered at a girls' night at Northwestern University Settlement, also known as NUS. The following year, she began to volunteer there more often until it became her new permanent job. In 1907, she accepted the title of head resident at NUS. NUS helps families and individuals conquer poverty so they can live fulfilling lives. With the help of Harriet Vidum, the program was able to grow, expand, and lower the rates of infant mortality with the Save the Babies campaign.
In addition to her work at NUS, Vidum was a member of the Women's Trade Union League. The Women's Trade Union League advocated for the reform of women's poor working conditions, education for girls, and mobilization of women. Vidum worked alongside other amazing women like Jane Addams, Mary McDowell, and Margaret Dreer. Miss Hattie was also the founding director of Women's City Club of Chicago, which helped with civic welfare-oriented duties.
In 1913, after Illinois women were given the right to vote, Harriet Vidum and Mary McDowell ran for the office of Cook County Commissioner. The Women's City Club of Chicago promoted both ladies for the job. Unfortunately, they did not cast the necessary majority of votes needed at the election. But this didn't stop Harriet. She kept on helping others for many years after that, doing all she could to better the condition of women everywhere of every race. She explored many different ways to help others she encountered to live a better life. She inspires women today to go out and do anything they can to help others.
In conclusion, these women have helped build Chicago to become the liberal city it is today. Without them, and women like Jane Addams, Bessie Louise Pierce, and Ruth McCormick, women would not be able to do things such as voting or going to school, and the existence of pro-choice, gender equality, and gay rights would not be at the level of success it is working towards now. These women have changed things for many different ethnicities, religions, and genders. Each one of them paid an important contribution to our society and have inspired us to change the world.